Welcome back to the Ball's Not Court, ladies and gentlemen. Me and Kevin will return, and we're going to discuss the offense side of the ball. Which should be a fun discussion here. So let's go ahead and break down the New England Patriots. As far as what their offensive ranks in the NFL this season, they were 11 in total yards with 5,848 total yards. Per game, they averaged 365.5 yards per game. They were 9th in passing with 257.6 yards, passing yards a game. In running, they was 18th in the league at 107.9 rushing yards per game, and they was 4th with 29.3 points per game. Seattle on the flip side, this is pretty interesting. They still had a lot of yards with this, but they had 6,000 average total some yards, 6,000 some 12 yards total yards, 375.8 yards per game. They were 27 in passing, which me and Kevin know that's not one of their strongest suits.
Yeah.
But they averaged 203 yards passing yards per game. It was first in rushing, which that's
172 yards per game.
Pretty.
I think the next closest people to them were 40, 50 yards?
Yeah.
A game closest to them?
It was by a large margin, so
that's ridiculous.
Right behind them. They was 10th in points per game at 24.6 points per game, so I mean, what's your overall thoughts of the offense? Because they're totally different, but let me hear your analysis. And I know you kind of touched on it prior to before we went into intermission, but
yeah, they're two completely different offenses, but are eerily similar in the way they kind of go about things. Because really, if you look at it, New England almost a ball possession type offense as well. With their short dink and duck game and their passes, they lull you to sleep and then try to hit a big pass, but usually their big passes are short pass that somebody runs. So they're kind of similar, but it's just minus the great running game that you have on the Seattle end. But Seattle, where New England grinds you with the passing game and then able to hit a big play because they got you tired or they hit the right guy or they create a lot of theirs is created upon mismatch problems and scheme. Whereas there's really no scheme to Seattle. It's basic. And that's the thing with Seattle. Everything mostly they do offense and defense is basic. Just basic smash mouth football is what they do. Basic run the ball down your throat. Basic they use a little bit of the spread option and able to use stuff like that. But it's still a basic system. Whereas New England has a little facets of everything, but there's still a basic spread system. They were one of the first teams to bring the spread into the NFL and use it effectively, but in a different way that it's used in college without the running quarterback and everything like that. But it is a version of the spread offense.
Gotcha. All right, now let's talk about the quarterbacks because you got Russell in his second Super Bowl. You got Tom Brady, I believe.
In what, 3 years?
In 3 years,
his second Super Bowl? No, 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, he's been in the league for 4 years.
You got Tom Brady. This would be his 6th, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean...
First one in 10 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think about their styles? We got Russell Wilson. Look at this. I mean, like you said, we talked about this when we was off the air. His rushing yards as a quarterback.
He's almost had 900 rushing yards.
7.2 average.
8 rushes of 20-plus yards with 6 touchdowns.
Impressive. And then we already can talk about his passing resume as 3,000 some yards on there. He averaged about
He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. And that's the key in this kind of offense. That's ball control, make good decisions, and runs the type of offense that they run with this basic system. That's your key, not turning the ball over. And he does a very good job at it, but still completes 63% of his passes.
I like the threat of Russell because he gives you that option where he can go ahead and actually hand it off, and he can pretty much run on the flats and look for either a play or make a play by himself. So, like Kevin had mentioned, he said this numerous times, he looked to make the pass first. His eyes always down the field. He's looking to make the play. If it's not there and there's space for him to go ahead and run, he doesn't mind doing that. And so that's the threat of having Russell Wilson there, that he's on a threat to run, to look
Aaron
to pass.
Rodgers-esque.
Exactly.
Really, him and Aaron, in a lot of ways, in that aspect of their game, it's kind of similar. Both of them, when they get out on the corners and they're able to get out of the way, they're always looking downfield.
Mm-hmm. strong quarterback rating at 95. So, I mean, this guy's been solid. And it's right about to what he's actually averaged on this. I mean, well, this is basically out of the quarter. I'm thinking that this is a whole season thing. But this is still pretty. I mean, I like the aspect of Russell, and he's one of these quarterbacks, like you said, Kevin mentioned new age quarterback that scramble, but they looking to pass on the scramble.
He's the new age guys where they were talking about the runners and everything like that. Some of them are going to be one hit run. Like I think Cam Newton's vastly overrated by a lot of people. I think he's overrated. He's injury prone, and he's overrated in my mind. Robert Griffin, I think he's overrated as all get out. And it's coming to fruition that, well, we're seeing that he kind of is. Because he can't sit back in the pocket and do everything. But when you look at Russell and everything, it's quite... Colin Kaepernick, another one. Vastly, vastly overrated. He had the one good year 2 years ago taking San Francisco to the thing. But a lot of that was based on they had a healthy Frank Gore. And they were able to run the ball, much like Seattle does now. And he was able to do most of his damage on the ground. So, but now you can see when you do the certain type of things that a lot of these quarterbacks are doing, it takes a toll on you and it takes a damage. And then they try to rewind you back and make you a pocket passer, and that's just not what you do well. Pete Carroll is allowing his quarterback to do what he does well.
Gotcha. All right, you got Mr. Tom Brady on the other side of the ball. 4,000 some yards. If you want to be exact, 4,109 yards. He averaged about 248 per game. His quarterback rating is at 97.4. 33 touchdowns, 9 receptions, 64% pass completion. Talk about this guy, this Tom Brady. And
has similar pass completion percentage, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What can you say about Tom? Tom is a good quarterback and fits with Bill Belichick perfectly. This was the perfect combo of people to put together of a coach-quarterback combo that you could ever see. Belichick has a certain system he wants to run. Tom Brady runs it to perfection. It's amazing how well he runs it. Now, people were talking about if you interchanged people with Tom Brady, would they still be successful? And I know I got into this argument with a guy on our podcast before, and I said, yes. I said, you can take other people and put them in this system, and they will succeed much like Tom Brady does. What makes Tom Brady different, though, is his will to win and his competitiveness and his leadership ability. That's what makes this guy different. He's a rah-rah dude. He's a passionate individual that you can see during the games where he becomes Psycho Tom. Mm-hmm. He goes in and he starts going nuts, and he is there where you have Belichick, who's mild-mannered and everything. Tom takes over that personality of being the rah-rah, let's go guy that you need on the team. Whereas Pete Carroll, on the other side, Pete Carroll is the rah-rah guy. And Russell Wilson is that calm, cool, demeanor guy. Mm-hmm. So it's like their quarterback combos are a little switched up. But Tom is going to go down as one of the all-time greats. And there's no arguing what he has done and what he has accomplished.
Tom is one of these guys that, and just, if you really appreciate football, and a lot of people do tend to hate on New England more than they should. Their success has been pretty darn good.
I was told I hated on them, and I freaking picked them. I
don't
get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get how whatever.
Tom is just so consistent. I remember at the beginning of the year, I kind of questioned did he fall off a little bit. But this is a 17-game season, and it's a process.
Yeah, I had to remind you of
that. And now I jumped the gun.
My team's reminded you in a hard way.
Yeah, I jumped the gun. But Tom has still got some left in the tank, and he's willing to. I know he already done took a pay cut to try to help his team get what they need to keep him in contention like that. He's a total team player. You can't ask for a better person. I mean, I know he got his little side antics and everything like that, and people mess with him because he doesn't get high five from certain players. But that's just Tom Brady, man.
That was funny.
That was funny. But Tom is one of these guys that is gonna go down as one of the all-time greats, and just his story. People should appreciate his story more because
you gotta think. 1 year has he had a receiver that you would consider a great receiver. Just 1 year in his whole entire career, he would have what you would call a great receiver. The 1 year he had that great receiver, he broke the touchdown record. He's been working with what I would call average talents at the wide receiver position. They always usually had a good tight end, but he always was working with average. And that's where we'll talk about the coaches later, but that's where he comes off to me as being great, that he always done all this stuff with average guys around him.
Yeah. So I tell you what, man, you gotta respect Tom and his accolades, what he achieved on and off the field.
He's so damn pretty.
So I mean, I just came to, you have to actually sit down and take off and a lot of my friends, when I lived up there, they asked me, how is New England viewed outside of Boston and that area like that? And I said, there's not too many people that like y'all down from where I'm from.
No, they all live from up there, the ones that come down here and like them.
I said the ones that do like y'all, they're mostly from up there because, Florida is a melting pot of many
everybody.
States. Yeah, basically everybody. But if you really talk to more of the homegrown folks, they can't stand New England. They really can't, and because they tell that I'm not really a big fan of them either. But
you have Miami, who they automatically hate them.
Right.
Here, we don't. It's not hate. A lot of the reason I think people do not like New England is, one, because their coach is such a cheater.
Yeah.
Is what the perception of what New England is. Mm-hmm. Is that they're cheaters. And then when all this other stuff comes out, the perception just grows. So these people automatically think of all this stuff. I don't hate New England, because if I hated them, I wouldn't pick them to do anything. I would be anti-death on them. But I don't hate them because I appreciate what you get to watch. When you see these guys play football, you get to where you appreciate the talent level of these guys, and you get to appreciate the success that they have been sustained over the years. Mine's more of jealousy, because I want my team to have a freaking 15-year run of being great all the time, and that's really what it stems from. But it's amazing at what they've done with such